How's it going, everybody? We're going to start our next unit, and we're going to go to area and perimeter of composite shapes. We'll get into volume and all the rest of it, but we're going to just start with area and perimeter. So we're going to start with just two-dimensional shapes. EQAO has a nice formula sheet that we're going to follow. So it gives us our shapes, our two-dimensional shapes all on one side. It gives us our perimeter, and it gives us our areas. So this is the one that we can refer back to as we do our question. So I just wrote it all out here so we can reference it. So first example, so the one from the textbook, it's a nice beautiful stained glass window. Gorgeous. There's all my shapes. And our textbook solves it in two different ways. It solves it one by breaking it up into a triangle, a rectangle, and a triangle. So we could do it that way. So we could do option one, look at it as a triangle, a rectangle, and a triangle, okay? Or option two, we can notice that this is a trapezoid, okay? So the whole thing. So we can look at it in pieces, and when we put pieces together, that's what gives us a composite shape. Or if we can look at it as a whole, we have a trapezoid. Okay, now we want to figure out our perimeter and we want to figure out our area. If I look at area first, and I'm going to do that on purpose, my area of a trapezoid is done by this equation. So you can either put the 2 underneath or put it as a half out front, whatever, it's the same diff. Okay, so that means I need A, which is my top flat side. So that means I need this length. And let's look back at the question. Do I have that length? Yes, I do. So my A would be 24. I need a B, which is my bottom. So let's see, do I have that value? I do. It's just broken up. It would be 12 plus 24 plus 4. So my base would be 12 plus 24 plus 4. So what does that equal? 28, 30, 40. So I have a 40, I have that, and I also need a height. Do I have a height here? Oh, I do. It's written off to the side. So my height, which is there, my height I know is 16. So I have everything I need. So I can solve for my area, no problem. I can use my equation. So let's do that. Area equals, you always write your equation first, please, half times A plus B times H. Remember, when we've got things side by side, it means multiply. I'm not always going to write that out, just this time. Okay, pop in your numbers. So we have 1/2 times bracket 24 plus 40 times my height, which is 16. Well, after that, it's just order of operations. What's inside the brackets? 1/2 times, what's that, 64? Times 16. So we're doing 64 times 16, all divided by 2. Right? Remember, that's what that means. So we get a total of 512. 512. And yes, you have to have units, people. Units are important. So my area is going to be, let's see, centimeters. And area is always squared. Let's not forget about our square, please. Therefore, the area is 512 centimeters squared. Good. So the next thing we're going to want to do, now that we found our area, is we want to find our perimeter. And remember, perimeter is the path around the outside. So I know this piece, and I know this piece, but we don't have either of the slant heights here, okay? So that means we're going to have to go back to option one and break it down into our triangle. Because I have a triangle, and we know how to solve for a hypotenuse. We did that already, remember, Pythagoras? And we're going to have to do it here too. So we're going to have to break things up into our triangles to solve for our side lengths. So let's do it. So this triangle here has a base of 12, and this side is 16, and we need to solve for that side. So Pythagorean theorem, right? C squared, which is my longest side, my hypotenuse, equals a squared plus b squared. Yes, you have to write your formulas. Equals, doesn't matter which one's a and which one's b, it's just small side squared plus small side squared. So what does that equal? 144 is 12 squared. 16 squared is 256. So that means c squared is, add those all up, 400. And remember, to undo a square, you have to square root. And the square root of 400 is 20. So that means this piece here is 20. Good. All right, let me just write that in up on our picture so we don't lose it. Let's see, 20. So this part here is now 20. Can you see that? Too pale. Try that again. 20. Oh, that's probably not even helping either, is it? That's a bit better. Okay. And then we get to do this triangle here. So same thing. There we go. Found one. The same thing. Triangle. This side is 16 still because that's still the height. The base is now 4. We're still looking for this side length here. So I don't know. We've already done A, B, C. So I guess that's going to be D this time. Again, we're still using Pythagorean theorem. So we've got c squared equals a squared plus b squared is my general form. Put in what I have. So I'm calling that D equals, let's see, 16 squared plus 4 squared. Well, 16 squared, oh, we already did that one. 256. 4 squared is 4 times 4, so that's 16. Add the numbers together, and you get 272. So that's what that side length squared is. Opposite of squaring, we got a square root. Square root. Square root. Abracadabra. Calculator, calculator. What do we get? D equals approximately 16. All right. So let's throw that up on our beautiful picture up top. 16. That can't be 16. Hang on, that was rounding it too much. 16 doesn't make sense. 16 point, let's keep some decimals here. Because it's got to be longer than the other side. Let's keep a few decimals. Okay. All right, well, now I know that. So now I can figure out my perimeter. Excellent, let's do it. So let's see, that was 16.49. So I've got that up on my picture. So perimeter, remember, is the path around the outside, right? So, hang on. Okay, now we're ready. So perimeter is the path around the outside, right? It's got to be around the outside. So it doesn't matter where you start. So I'm just going to start my little guy. I don't know, let's pretend he's here. And then he's got to walk around the other side. So my perimeter is officially A plus B plus C plus D. Right, because that's what my formula sheet gives me as my letters, because that's how it's defined it. And in real numbers, let's see, we got 24 plus 16.49 plus what was that? 4 plus 24 plus 12, so the whole base was 40. Plus 20. Okay. Add it up, and what do we get? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, 149. And because it's perimeter, it's just a distance. So the units are as is, no exponent. And that's our perimeter. Therefore, the perimeter is 100.49 centimeters. Good stuff. All right, let's do example 2. So a classic scenario with composite shapes. So the question before, we kind of took a couple shapes, shoved them together. Turns out that we ended up making a trapezoid. Here we're going to take a shape and we're going to cut a chunk out of it. So as you see, I've got a rectangle that I then cut this semicircle out of. Okay, and I'm going to use that when I go to calculate my area. So if I find the area of my rectangle and then I subtract that from the area of this semicircle or half circle, well, we've got it. And we've got our formulas, right? We know how to find the area of our rectangle. We know how to find the area of a circle. So we just need to make sure we have all our pieces and away we go. All right, so let's see. Area, T for total, will be equal to the area of our rectangle minus the area of our semicircle. Maybe I should have just drawn that as a semicircle. All right, let's fix. Semicircle, okay? So I'm using these shapes as subscripts because subscripts are labels. Because we're going to have lots of A's and lots of P's and all the rest of it. Math likes letters and symbols, so that's how we're going to set it up. Okay? So I know the area of my rectangle. Well, there's my width. There's my length. That one's easy. Area of my semicircle. Well, let's see. I need a radius for that. Do I have a radius up here? So let's do a little think here. So I know the center to the edge is a radius. Okay, and I know that this whole distance here would be a diameter, which is that. So I know my radius is going to be equal to 2.1 divided by 2. So half of this distance is going to be my radius. And I need radius in order to do area. Okay, so we need that first. So let's see, radius is going to be equal to 1.05 meters. Okay, no problem. That's a 5. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. Area total equals area rectangle minus area semicircle. Area of my rectangle is length times width. You can use capital letters if you want. I'm going to stick to the EQAO versions. Minus, since I'm only doing half a circle, I'm going to have to stick a half in front, times, what's the area of a circle? Pi r squared. Okay, so don't forget that half is because a semicircle equals half of a full circle. Okay. Sticking our numbers, 5.2 times 2.1. Does order matter? No. Oops, 5.2 times 2.1 minus 1/2 times pi times, what's my radius? 1.05 all squared. Toss it in your calculator, and what do you get? So 5.2 times 2.1 gives me 10.92. 0.92 minus 1.73. Oh my goodness, here we are. Area total, lost you, sorry, is 9.19. Therefore, the area is 9.19. We need our units squared. So our units was meters. So meters squared. Because area is always squared. Okay, time for perimeter. So perimeter, remember, is the path around the outside. So I have this side, again, half of a circle, down this side and over that way. So I've got 3 sides, no problem. This side is a little bit trickier. So what we need for this part is to recognize the fact that that is half of a circle, right? Still half of a circle. And remember, the path around the outside of a circle is my circumference. So circumference is 2 pi r. Well, if I only want half of that, then this part here, that path length there is going to be equal to half of pi r squared. Half of 2 pi r, which is just going to be equal to pi r, because the 2's are going to cancel out. Okay, well, we can do that. Don't forget our radius from before. We already figured that out. Was a 2.1 divided by 2, so 1.05. Radius was the 2.1 divided by 2, so 1.05 meters. So we're good. Let's do this. So my perimeter is going to be length plus width plus length. Length plus width plus length, which I could simplify that as 2 lengths plus 1 width, plus that half of my circumference, which is my pi r. So let's sub it in and solve. So that equals 2 times, what was my length? 5.2. 5.2 plus my width, which is 2.1, plus pi times radius, which is 1.05. Toss it in your calculator and away you go. All right, order of operation says 2 times 5.2 equals 10.4. 10.4 plus 2.1 plus pi. So you should either have a pi button or, so I have a pi button, or I just use 3.14 times 1.05. So I've got a lot of decimals here, 2.298, oh boy, a whole bunch of stuff. Plus, add them all up. And that I would round up to 15.8. I would round that up meters, because meters is the distance around the outside. So therefore, the perimeter is 15.8 meters. So remember, perimeter, and this is important, is the distance around the outside. So we had called this one length, that one's width, so we had length plus width plus another length, and then this distance here was half my circumference. And away we went. Okay, let's do another example. So your textbook didn't have quite enough, so we need a new one. We need a really cool one. So here I have this really cool shape, and I want to find the area and the perimeter of this one. So A is area, B is perimeter. Let's do this. So what do I know? Well, this side length here is 20, and I tried to show that that comes to the same height over here. Okay, I've split this whole total into half, right? But I didn't tell you the numbers. I just gave you the little dashes, so you have to figure that out, that that's been split into half. Okay, I gave you the base of the triangle section. I gave you your total distance. I haven't told you this length, but I did tell you this length. So we've got lots of good pieces here. So this is a true composite shape, because what I've definitely done is I took, hold on, I'll switch colors here, is I've got a rectangle here. I have a smaller one here. And I've got my triangle. So I've got a lot of shapes happening in here. And if I break it up like this to figure out my area, easy peasy. So let's figure that out. So the area of my big rectangle, well, that's just length times width, right? Length times width. So in this case, I have a length of 20. But what's my width? Well, this width up here, so that's my width up here. Well, it's going to be my total 30, so width of my yellow. Well, it's my total of 30 minus the 10 from the triangle, minus the 5 of this little chunk here, and whatever's left over is going to go on the width of the yellow. So what does that equal? 20 minus 5 is 15. So the width of my yellow is going to be 15. So I had to figure that out first to sub it in. Okay. And then what's this? 2 times 15 is 30. Add an extra 0 on the end. And I've got feet. Area is always squared. All right, so there's one area. So that's my yellow one. My little blue one. Oh, that's a lot easier to figure out. Area of my little blue one. So that's length times width. Well, I think I've got most of those numbers, right? Here's my width here. Okay, there's my 5. Well, what's my length if I'm assuming length is up and down? Well, remember we said we split this into half, right? So this distance here is going to be 20 divided by 2. So my length in this case is going to be 20 divided by 2. So it's going to be 10. So I had to figure that out. So I'm going to use that to sub into here. Oh, I picked nice numbers. 10 times 5, well, that's just 50. What are my units? Feet squared. Okay, well, that's not too terrible. And what's left? Area of a triangle. Half times base times height, right? Area, triangle, half times base times height. So there's my half times, what's my base? I gave you that as 10. What's my height? Well, that's the total side, so that's my 20. 100 feet squared. So to get my total area, we just have to add these all up. Area total is area of my yellow one plus the area of my blue one plus the area of my triangle. So we said that's 300 plus, 50 plus 100. So that's what, 450 feet squared. Ta-da! So therefore, the area is 450 feet squared. Good. Now let's figure out perimeter. All right, so I just redrew the triangle, so it's just the same one. I just have it, that was pretty messy. So I just traced back over it and put on all the information we knew. So we know this is 30, this is 20. We figured out that was 15. This was given to us 5. We figured out that these two pieces each broke into 10 because they each split the 20 in half. Okay. So perimeter, remember, is the distance around the entire outside. So if I were to start, say, I don't know, I always like to start here. That's just where I start, right? Because you read from left to right. So I would go across and let's see, perimeter, we've got a 15. Oh, I don't have a number there. Sugars. How am I going to figure that number out? Well, that one's nicely straightforward, actually. This distance here, because everything was right angles, is the same distance as here. So this is going to be 10. So that's good. Okay, let's keep going around our circle here. So we now know that's going to be 10, because the picture tells us that. 5, 10. Oh, dear. I don't have a number for that side, do I? But I have information that can help me get there. Is this not a right angle triangle? And do we not know good old Pythagorean Theorem? We can do this. So let's see. We knew the base of that part of the triangle. Oops, I didn't give us that. We knew it was 10. So let's pop that down on my picture here. So we know that this part of the triangle is 10. We know my total height on this side is 10. So let's see, there's my triangle. I'm just going to redraw it. So the bottom is 10. This whole side is 10 plus 10, which was my 20, right? Total, same. And so I just need to figure out that side. Pythagorean Theorem. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So long side squared equals short side squared plus short side squared. 20 squared is 400. 10 squared is 100. 4 plus 1 gives me a total of 500. Opposite of squaring is square root. Square root. Square root. Take the square root of each side. Final answer gives me a length of 22.36. Right? Because we needed the square root of 500. Okay. So that gives me this side length here. So this is now 22.36. Let's continue our little path round. This total bottom down here we know is 30. Come back up my side is 20. Oh, we're back where we started. So we just figured out our path round. Now we just have to add it all up. Nice. Let's do this. Perimeter equals, so again, let's say we started there, right? 15 plus 10 plus 5 plus 10 plus 22.36, keep going, plus 30 plus 20. Add it all up, and I get a total of 112.36. Go back to my units, feet. Therefore, the perimeter is 112.36 feet. You should always have those kind of statements. Now, one word of caution with warning. We've got so many letters already that we're using in our formulas and all the rest of it. I don't often letter all of my sides, but you definitely have to diagram it. If you're not going to give me a variable for every side, in which you'd still have to label it, right? You got to at least give me a labeled diagram. So you got to show me what your side lengths are when you figured them out. Like, you got to figure out these 2 10s. You got to put that on the picture. We had to figure out this 10. You got to put it out on the picture. We had to figure out this 15. You have to put it on the picture. So a full and complete solution in these scenarios definitely requires a labeled diagram.